In this video, we're going to talk about what happens on your first day in court. It's a really common question, and especially for people who have never been through the process before, it's something they're thinking about almost from the day that that court date is assigned. So we're going to cover that in this video. My name's Trey Porter. I'm a criminal defense attorney in Texas. We have a lot of information here on our YouTube channel in the form of videos. We've also got a ton of articles that really get into the nitty-gritty about almost every situation you can encounter while facing criminal prosecution. So be sure to check those out. If you're up against the government, it's not a fair fight, and knowledge is power. So I hope you get the answers that you need. But let's get into it. What happens on that first court date? What's going to happen? Do you have to talk to the judge? Are you going to get in trouble? Is it all going to get figured out? Deep breath. The answer about what's going to happen on your first court date is almost always the same, and that's nothing. Nothing's going to happen on your first court date. And I don't say that in some kind of callous way or anything like that, but just the reality is that nothing substantive, nothing material, nothing that's a game changer, nothing that's final is going to happen on that first court date. In many instances, especially if you're on bond, your first court date might be something that's very perfunctory, where you go and you check in and then you reset. It might even be a situation where the court preemptively resets it. And though you might have walked out of the magistrate office or the jail or the sheriff's office, wherever you were held after being arrested, with a piece of paper that says what that first court date is, that date itself might be moved. So those are just a couple things to think about. A big common question that we get is, what does arraignment mean? That is typically a phrase that's associated with the first court date, especially here in Texas. Arraignment's an old school thing. It's the back in the day deal of being arraigned and hauled before the court to answer for your charges. We used to live in towns where people would pass through and it was very transient, and finding people to show up for court was a little bit more of a challenge than it is now. But an arraignment in Texas can be waived. So it's something now with paperwork, you can just file it with the court and you don't have to go. If you do go, it's typically going to be a situation where your attorney will tell the judge, Judge, I've talked about the charge with my client. We're entering a plea right now of not guilty, and we'd like to progress down the court's docket. And what that means is it's not saying that you're not guilty and you're never going to change your mind. It's saying that you're not guilty at that moment and you want to have an opportunity to review the evidence, to request the evidence, to see what's going on, to be thorough, to exercise your rights and due diligence. And that's something that unfortunately doesn't happen all at once. It's going to happen over a number of court dates. So with your first court date, the number one thing is to take a deep breath, not be worried about anything, and know that when you walk into the courtroom, nothing material or substantive, certainly nothing negative, is going to happen to you that will affect your case in a total way. The other thing I want to cover with this video is talking. People are always worried about, am I going to have to speak when I'm in court? Do I have to talk to the judge? Am I going to have to answer questions? What if my attorney's not with me right when court starts? You are never going to have to talk in any detail or speak before the court about anything that can be used against you or anything substantive from your case. You might have to say, hey, Judge, I'm here. My name's Trey Porter, Judge, here in the back row. Hope you can see me. That's fine. The judge may also ask you, do you have an attorney? Do you need an attorney? Do you want an attorney appointed to you? You might have to answer some questions like that, but you're never going to have to get into what you were doing, what you were thinking, and why you did it. All of that is for another day. So those first court dates are really just kind of perfunctory in nature. No big deal. Nothing bad is going to happen. Take a deep breath.